lives there. If you always know how it's going to go, the peddling of the, self-help gurus who say you need certainty, that's where they're at. That's not how life really works. Those who remain curious, open, those are the ones who succeed further. They're learners. If you're always grasping at some adolescent desire for certainty, you're in the wrong group. Because I don't play at any levels, in the highest levels of the world, of anyone peddling certainty. What they're peddling is the reality. You need to be adaptive. You need to learn. Yes, trust yourself, but be curious. Challenge yourself. Be so curious about how it could be different. Do something new. And when you do that, I promise you, that's where life really is. Grasping to make it exactly as we want. Didn't we just fail at that the last 3 years? Didn't we just find out that doesn't work so good? When you try to, edict how the world has to be and how your relationships have to be and how people have to act, it doesn't always turn out so good. We need to be more adaptive, more flexible, more open, more curious, not just in our own lives to ignite ourselves, but I think in our relationships too. Sometimes you forget in your relationship, the persons that you love, you kind of forget. You don't pay attention to them anymore. You don't listen to what they want anymore. You don't know their goals anymore. You're not curious about them anymore. I know my wife. I know my husband. He's always this way. And then you put them in your little certainty and expectation box, and all of a sudden, they're not thriving in the relationship anymore because they can tell you're not genuinely interested anymore. So we've got to change. We've got to do things that are new. Did you know most people can't even predict their own happiness? They don't even know what brings them passion or joy or fulfillment. They haven't been in rooms like this to do the work on ourselves. But you got to re-engage it. It doesn't get any better, but if you can change your mind and tell yourself a different thing, this will be fun, it will be hard, but I will have achieved something. I will have made something different. I will have overcome a fear that was my own fear. Most fear is just poor management of your mind. If you want to fear something, fear living a false and constrained life. Fear that. Fear going through life not being you and feeling it. Fear that. Don't fear make-believe stuff. Fear that life is short and we should live it and experience it and really feel it. I learned those lessons. I started telling everybody about it. People say, oh, I like that. You should teach. You should talk. You should start this thing. And I thought maybe I'll write a book one day about, some of the lessons that I learned. And so I went into the next huge fearful thing of my life, which was, went through school to, get my degree, got a good, safe job, working for somebody, teaching and training in a consulting company, but I wanted to write a book. So for all the years I was there, I was like, I want to write a book, but I was terrified. It wasn't like it is now. It was scary to be a book author back then. And I remember that decision. Who's ever made a decision to leave a job and to do your own thing? That's terrifying, right? You lay up at night thinking about that. Sometimes you're fired up and sometimes you're like, what am I doing? I quit the job. I was like, what am I doing? This is crazy. And I did what every great writer does. I quickly went broke. I just went so broke. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was so scared. I quit the job. I didn't know how to write a book. I'd never written a book about like a real book. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. I was dating a girl at the time, and she was the girl. I just knew it. I met her at the gym. Me, scrawny Brendan Lee. I went to this gym where everyone was huge, and then there was me. And this beautiful girl walked in, and I was on this machine, whatever this one is, where you're doing with the back thing. Your legs are up over there, and you're doing the back thing, So I'm doing this, and I'm like sweating on this mat. She's sitting there, she's doing some sit-ups. I'm like, hi. My dad had always taught me, if you ever meet a nice girl, you should know everything going on in the city. So you can ask her to do something nice versus just go to a movie. And so I'd read the newspaper. I always knew what was going on. So I ran into her that day, and I knew that weekend they were doing a show that was opening at an art museum. And so I met her, and I said, hi, how are you? And I was so excited when I saw her, and I hadn't seen her in several months. And her name is Denise, and she walked up, And I go, hi, Diane, how are you? She's like, it's Denise. I'm like, oh, I know, we haven't seen each other. You probably forgot my name. She's like, hi, Brendan. I was like, oh, God. But she let me recover. I said, oh, well, do you like art? Well, there's an art museum. It's opening on Sunday. If you want to take like a Sunday stroll and go to this art museum, I'd love to go there. I have 2 tickets. And she's like, oh, well, I'm going to go work out. Come ask me later. I said, I'm leaving right now. What's your number? And she 415, she tells me the number. I repeat it back to her. She goes, okay. And I repeat it back to her. She goes, okay. I said, okay, I'll call you. And I go out of there because I don't have a good numbers memory. So I run downstairs to the front desk and go, do you have a piece of paper? Do you have a piece of paper? They're like, what? I said, piece of paper. And the lady starts fishing for a piece of paper. I'm like, good Lord. So I run 6 blocks back to my house, repeating her number, 415, screaming at the top of my lungs, getting this number in my head. I run up into my apartment, I write it down, like, okay. Then I call, and they get her voicemail, and it's her. I'm like, yes! Oh, okay. So I called her, we set the date, we go to the museum, we have this great time because I'm like this all the time. So in a very stuffy museum, I'm your best friend. We're gonna have the best time, right? We had the best time, everything's great, and I can feel. I remember after the museum, we go up on this little hill. We go to this little coffee shop. She asked me if I want, do you want to hang out? Do you want to have a coffee? I'm like, no. She's like, what? And what, could you imagine me on coffee? We're sitting on this, looking at this fountain, looking at this church, over this hill next to the MoMA, and we're just talking. And I just remember there's this moment where we just locked in and our hearts connected. And she always says that was the moment she knew that something important was going to happen between us. And I always say, I just thought we were going to make out right then. That's what I thought was happening. Anyway. So I quit the job, and as I said, I quickly went broke. And now I'm with the girl, but I have no money. And I can't afford my rent anymore. So I go live on my friend's, I gave up my apartment, and I'm living on the floor of my friend's. And this goes on for months. And at some point now, I either have to go back to Montana and live with my parents, or we have to move in together, and we didn't want to move in together until maybe one day we got married or something. But she says I can move in. She believes in me. And it was the hardest thing to have someone believe in you when you know you don't deserve it. I went home that summer and I picked up a little desk that I could move into her apartment. Her apartment was small, so I was gonna have to write in the bedroom next to the bed. I think I have that picture. That's my writing desk. I know you think it's fancy, right? This is the dream of all the writers, of course. Now, of course, I recognize how ridiculous it was. I had my mom's 3-legged table and I was writing on this desk. When she goes to work, I fold out that thing and I'm gonna go to work too. She leaves, and then usually I kind of fart around the house. And at night, she'd show up and I'd be doing this. How's it going? Oh, I've been writing here all day, babe. I'm awesome. So I lied about my progress for months. And whenever you lie about working hard, your brain hears it. You lose self-respect. You lose real progress in life because you know you're faking it. You know you're not showing up and doing the hard work. Your brain knows that you're choosing a cowardly life. It's not nice to say, but the brain knows it. We lose self-discipline and we don't like ourselves as much anymore. People don't like when you say that self-worth is tied to self-discipline. It's just that it is. And so I didn't like myself. And the truth is, now I was going into bankruptcy. So every morning, I'd fold out the thing, I'd get everything ready, my little writing tools, and on the bed next to me, I'd set up all the vision boards, all the research, all the books, all the papers. Denise would go off to work, a real job. One night,
faked all day. She comes home, and I'm typing. We have a nice dinner. I go back in. I'm pretending to type. She goes, showers, gets ready for bed. She comes in. She sees me working diligently. Kiss on the cheek. Good night, honey, I love you. She goes to go to sleep, crawls under the covers of the bed, but on the section where all of my bills and unopened credit cards and bankruptcy papers were. So I'm pretending to type. I look over. And I see the love of my life sleeping under the weight of my bills. And it was just like, you know what I really fear? And I didn't know until then. I feared not being able to take care of my family. And I don't know why that hit me that day, but it hit me. And I just hit those keys. She's sleeping. That night, all night, the whole night, right? Next morning, as soon as I got up, next night, next morning, next day, 18 days. Book is done, 18 days. Becomes #1 on Amazon, becomes my first book, my first big book with HarperCollins. It comes out, it goes straight up, and I was like, yes, I've made it. I start writing another one, and then a few weeks later, it goes straight down. You're like, oh, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Defeat or discipline now? I know I have the choice. Defeat or discipline? Discipline. Keep going, kid. Come on. Just show up again. Don't go back where you're faking it. Don't go back to faking it. Do the work. 6 best-selling books later, New York Times best-selling in a row. It was just like, wow. And I tell you, I didn't go back to the fake life. I did the work. Writing that book, then one of the most scary things that ever happened to me was self-inflicted. When the book didn't do what I wanted it to do, I realized